Welcome to JMW's Inside Man YouTube channel. My guest is David Smith. David is a partner at JMW and head of property litigation in London. David, over a number of weeks, all I heard was about the Renters Reform Bill and an awful lot about it. But things seem to have been a little bit quiet recently. Where's it up to?
Well, that's because it's up to nowhere. So very briefly, the progress of a bill in Parliament, it starts, in this case, in the House of Commons. There's a first reading, which is initially introduction of the bill. A second reading, where some amendments are made and the bills is meant to be published, although government bills are always published at first reading. There's a report stage and there's a third reading. So all we've had so far is the first reading. And then we've been waiting for the second reading and we keep expecting it to happen and it hasn't happened. And this now creates a bit of an interesting problem because there is no Parliament right now. It's not sitting, it's on recess. So the Parliament came back from its summer holidays, effectively. And it had been suggested the second reading would be before the summer holidays, but it wasn't. So it came back from its summer holidays, sat for 10 days, and then last week promptly went off for conference recess, which lasts until the week commencing the 16th of October. And we already know that the Renters Reform Bill is not going to happen in the week commencing the 16th of October. Now, why this gets a bit interesting is that we're getting quite close to the state opening of Parliament, and of course the first state opening of Parliament for King Charles, so it's quite an important event. That's slated for the end of the first week of November, basically the 8th of November, the first full week of November. And the suggestion is that the Commons, or the government is intending to put the Commons on a prorogation, so it's not sitting for 2 full weeks before the 8th of November, which basically means that if the Commons comes back on the 16th, it's not happening in the first week when they get back. There's only 1 more week available until the Commons disappears again, and disappears until the 8th of November, and then you get into this other interesting problem is that there'll be a King's Speech. It's been suggested the Renters Reform Bill will make it back into the King's Speech, although we don't know for sure, because technically all bills that haven't been passed disappear when the Commons is prorogued for a King's Speech. It's basically a new Commons with a new sort of schedule, but one assumes that the King's Speech will make it across. And then you have to have a King's Speech debate. You've got some sort of budget event in November as well. And then you're getting devilishly close to Christmas. and therefore not a lot of work gets done. And so one of the questions is this happening?
And I'll take that question if I can, David, because as you mentioned,
is this happening?
Yeah, Christmas, elections coming, HS2, net zero. Will it happen with all of that?
Well, we don't know, because of course the thing you don't know is when the election's going to be, and the Westminster's a hotbed of wild rumor on these things. I've heard people speculating on a snap election immediately after the conference season, which I find unlikely. There was a story over the weekend that local authorities have been put on red alert for a snap election in the spring, because obviously they have to do all the counting and the stuff. And then realistically, you've got to have an election by the latter part of next year. Otherwise, you're running yourself, you're running out your clock really until January 25, when you've just got to do it regardless of how you feel. So there isn't necessarily a great deal of time left in the House of Commons before an election. And the Renters Reform Bill, it's no secret, is seeing a lot of opposition from backbench Conservative MPs. Plus, there seems to be a bit of a new view among the government that they should row back on these more sort of happy bills and focus on good, solid red meat right-wing policy, and why help tenants, type approach. So it's certainly a good question, and the answer at the moment is, I think it will probably happen, because there's nothing worse from a government's perspective than promising something and never delivering it, and especially in a very obvious way. But you can never say for sure at the moment. Strange things are happening.
And David, I find it interesting within our property litigation team, not only have you got the legal knowledge, but you keep your eye on these things coming through Parliament as well, which is so much more than just applying the law. So can you give me an idea of how you and the property litigation team can help?
Well, our property litigation work's quite wide, covering obviously classical litigation, but we also do a lot of advice around new law and changing law, and also quite a lot of public affairs work in terms of actually getting people in front of MPs and ministers and civil servants to give suggestions about how law can be developed. So it's quite a wide-ranging piece, and of course that means I also spend a lot of time discussing the Renters Reform Bill in lots of different contexts.
David, thank you for your insight. If you'd like to contact David and the property litigation team, you can email insideman@jmw.co.uk or call 0161 82 81 999. Please also subscribe to the JMW Inside Man YouTube channel for the latest legal news, hints and tips. I'm Dominic Walker, JMW's Inside Man.